session we're going to be talking about is thinking securely, basically adopting a mindset when it comes to looking to protect yourself, your data, both your personal data and also when we start as IT professionals building, managing systems and solutions. We just need to think about just if we adopt the right mindset, it can make life a lot easier for us, and then we're not coming at things sort of and playing catch up a lot of the time. So I work for a company called SentryOne. We've got a whole pile of free stuff there, ebooks and things like that. Feel free to go and grab them. I'm a data platform MVP, been working with SQL Server for over a decade in one form or another. Happy to talk SQL Server technical stuff, but I'm now a product manager for SentryOne, so I've been promoted out of danger to keep an eye on things and help architect the tools. So why should you worry about your data protection and the mindset and the things that you need to adopt when it comes to understanding some of the security things that we now face? Well, I mean, you just need to look at for example, one of the pieces of legislation that's just passing through the US Congress and Senate at the moment around the ISPs being allowed to basically sell browsing history to the highest bidder without you needing to opt in, without you needing to provide authorization. So there's a lot of value in the data that we have, both sort of the metadata and the things that we do with regards to everyday usage. But then when we think about, as IT professionals, when we're developing solutions, we're handling, we're manipulating data, presenting it. With BI professionals, we're performing the data to provide insight. So you're basically taking all of the parts there, and what you're giving is more than the sum of the parts when you pull it all together from potentially disparate data sources. And then as data platform engineers, when we're managing, provisioning, building and maintaining data platform solutions, again, there's a number of things that we need to understand. The threats that we're facing on a regular basis, so external attackers, internal, disgruntled employees, but then also when we're out and about on the road, you've got people who shoulder surf, that type of thing, and anyone can gain any extra information. So what can we do about it? Well, there's a number of different things that we can do. There's a number of different things that we can take with regards to the approach in how we conduct ourselves when we're working on the road or anything like that. So for everyone that I can see in the room, how many people have used their laptop on a plane or a train whilst they're traveling, coffee shops, that type of thing? Yeah, everyone. So that's one aspect of security that tends to get overlooked. Everyone's all about firewall, the ACLs, encryption, but a lot of the things we don't take into account are just where we're actually operating, where we're working. And then thinking about that and leading on is understanding where the threats are. What are the threats? Well, we've mentioned already things like disgruntled employees. So you get the scenario where someone sort of catches wind, they're going to be let go. So what do? And potentially go in and sort of, well, to hell with this, I'm going to delete everything on these file shares. And if they've not been granted, if they've been granted too many permissions, they've potentially got a lot of access into the system. And anyone who's been at any role for a long period of time, you tend to accrue and accumulate extra permissions. When you change roles, you don't tend to have the old permissions and the old identity requirements backed off, if you will, that type of thing there. So you've got that side of things. You've got the internal threats. You've then also got the external threats. So you've got people trying to sort of do spear phishing and phishing attacks to compromise the business in order to gain extra data and information like that. If you just look at the website that Troy Hunt runs about, basically you can subscribe and say, well, have my credentials or my details been sort of involved in any breaches? And some of the big companies there, I mean, you've got the likes of Yahoo, you've got LinkedIn and things like that, who are very reputable companies who've had breaches in the past, and email addresses and certain information like that has been pulled out and is being sold to whoever. So that's the type of thing that you need to understand. There's a multitude of threats. It can be internal, it can be external, it can be state actors, it can be anything like that. But then there's also the thing to understand is it's also inadvertent data breaches. So someone perfectly within there, you sat next to you, maybe the DBA, that type of thing, shouldn't be able to manage a certain server, has access to it. That's technically, again, a lapse in security. So understanding all of these threats and what exists out there, basically everything's out to get you in one form or another, be it from a commercial aspect or something that's a little bit more nefarious, and it's something that we need to understand. And adopting some sort of standard approaches to the way that we do things, just taking a little bit sort of step back and understanding, okay, well, what do I do? How do I work? How do my users work? So it's all about that sort of thing. It's a mobile workforce in this day and age, so really understanding where are people working. So we're always on. I mean, I've got my email on my phone, I've got it on the laptop, tablet devices, things like that. All of these things can go missing. I've got them with me all the time, so again, I've got this portal, this window into my world of data, essentially, that I've got with me most of the time. So how do we protect ourselves against potentially becoming compromised in those sorts of situations? So the threats are, there's a myriad of them. And one of the key things to understand here is it's a case of something's going to happen sooner or later. You're going to be on the wrong end of something like the LinkedIn breach or the Yahoo breach or something like that, where your credentials, your details, your email address, your name, that's going to go out. Hopefully you're not going to be managing any of these systems. But if you do come down to that, is to understand, okay, well, what do we do after the event as well? So it's almost adopting a when, not if mentality. So when this happens, how am I going to respond to it? How am I going to manage it? That type of thing. Okay. So feel free to chime in at any point in time with questions, and we can look to divert out to those if we need to be. But moving on. So we talked about where we're using our devices. Okay. Coffee shops. I've worked from a number of different coffee shops, Starbucks and such like, that I'll go down and sit there, or maybe out doing customer visits or something, and I've got a couple of hours to burn. So yeah, I've got my laptop with me, I've got my tablet, I'm going to check my emails, I'm going to check things like that, I'm going to check the backlog for the development teams, that type of thing. So I've got access to information that I'm looking at there, and I'm sort of understanding what am I looking at. Now, when we're there, we're dealing with public Wi-Fi. So there's a lot of, it's quite easy to compromise on public Wi-Fi. You've got things like man-in-the-middle attacks, that type of thing. You're going to hook up to potentially an insecure Wi-Fi point. So how do we handle that? That's where things like VPNs come in really useful. So if you're out there and you've got a work laptop, fire up your VPN and then start browsing over that secure link. So you're not going to get your traffic intercepted as easily, that type of thing. Then there's also things like the trains and planes. So I do quite a bit of travel. And I've seen quite a few things on those travels when it comes to, I'll just be walking up and down the plane, go to the toilet, go to get myself a drink from the galley, that type of thing, or such like on the train. And the things you can see people working on, just they've got their laptops out and just walking up and down the aisle, or you sit behind someone, and the things that you can see. There was a great scenario. I was coming back from a SQL Saturday in Gothenburg, it was, and the chap 2 rows and to the left ahead of me, working on a presentation, and I could see at the top it said top secret, something to do with helicopters. And that's fine, I can see him putting this presentation together, and it's like, well, those are interesting statistics and things that I really shouldn't be able to see. And it's just having that awareness that when you're in these environments, just that dissemination of information, that shoulder surfing, it's going to happen. People are inquisitive. Things catch our eyes. That's the nature of. So yeah, understanding what's going on, there's people around us, type of thing. Okay, so the different scenarios, we've got to think about potentially the network traffic being intercepted and that sort of thing. We've got people shoulder surfing, and then we think about the information that we're looking at as well. So it's not just the environment we're in, but we also need to understand, okay, well, given this environment, oh, yes, Steph, can you hear me? Ah, cool, sorry, I just had something flash up that my audio connection had gone. So yeah, it's really a case of understanding what sort of data is appropriate for the environment I'm actually working on here. So should I be looking at my dev backlog, things like that? Should I be looking at this finance data? Should I be looking at this personnel data? Should I be looking at the source code? That type of thing. Okay. So there's a number of things we need to understand with regards to that. It's not just about where we are and how we position ourselves. So if you're going to be sitting there on your laptop, it's better to put yourself in a corner where you've got a wall behind you rather than a flow of people, that type of thing. We understand, okay, it's about our physical positioning within the room as well to prevent that people being able to see the data that we're looking at. But when we're not always able to do that, you think about planes and trains where we've got the seats behind each other and you've got people looking over your shoulder, that type of thing. We think about some of the things that we've got to do then. So what can we do? What can we buy? How can we actually sort of do some of this stuff? So to combat things like the shoulder surfing, there's privacy screens. How many people have privacy screens for their laptops? Yeah, they're not that expensive. They can be. The gold sort of 3M ones are probably some of the best ones out there, but again, they're about £60 for certain laptops. But you can get them £20, £30, but they actually, if you're going to be a mobile worker, just explain it to your boss and say, look, if I'm out and about with a laptop, can I have a privacy screen? They just fit in, they're easy to take on, put on, take off when you don't want them, that sort of thing. So you can do sort of round the table and have people looking over and you actually want them looking at your screen, you can take them off. Little things like that can make life a little bit easier with regards to helping protect that information from people who are trying to shoulder surf. Then we think about, okay, we've got our laptops and devices like this. These mobile devices, they can go missing. Again, a good example is recently in New York, the Secret Service schematic information for Trump Tower. So how do we get around that? Well, we secure the data. So we've got our logins, we've got passwords, we've got PIN numbers, things like that on the devices. We can even use thumbprints, fingerprints, that type of thing for the readers we've got today. Now, I would actually caution against using the fingerprint readers and things like that, especially on your phones, because you think about the things that we're handling every day. It's actually quite easy to lift a fingerprint and actually overlay it and be able to use a fingerprint to bypass the security that we normally use. So I'd say, where possible, stick with a PIN, stick with a password. It's slightly less convenient, but it can be more secure. There's less sort of chance of someone picking that up and being able to easily compromise that, because someone can do that. And then we talk about things like encryption, device encryptions. So Android, iOS, Windows phones are encrypted by default now, which is great. So who is using Windows as their primary operating system? Or are you all Mac users and things like that? Or is it anyone using Windows? No? Okay. Oh, okay, so a few people have full disk encryption running. Okay. So that's the thing. I mean, when you're in a work situation, that's great. You've got it encrypted. But if you lose the password, your device has an issue, that type of thing, then what's going to happen? Okay, how do we get back in? That's where having a bit like a recovery key come in is very, very important. Now, as a personal user, if you're using Windows 8, Windows 10, that type of thing, Okay, audio connection's back again. So I've no idea what's going on here. For some reason, GoToWebinar just goes nope. So yeah, full disk encryption is the way forwards really on this one. Recovery keys, personal or professionally, full disk encryption is really where we should be at. Device encryption again with things like the phones and the tablets and things like that as well. Okay. So thinking about also where your data is stored. Data is in many, many databases, that type of thing. We've got a lot of options available to us here. Now, are we storing the data on behalf of someone? Or are we storing it ourselves? Is it our personal data? So understanding where it's provisioned. So with the advent of cloud computing, if you will, it's always stored on somebody else's machine. Now, where is that machine? That machine could be in Europe, it could be in North America, it could be in China, it could be in India. Understanding where your data is stored is going to have an impact on the data sovereignty and who's going to have access to it as well. Good example is if you look at the current Microsoft case that's still going through there about the US government trying to gain access to data that's held in the Irish data center. Again, trying to get the American company to compel them to give them the data that's stored elsewhere, yeah, that's not working out so well at the moment, but again, if it was an Irish company doing the same with the Irish law enforcement, then they can go through the channels there, and that's when your data becomes available. How's it transiting? That type of thing. So when we think about data being transiting, we want to make sure we're using secure HTTPS, that type of thing for any and all web pages now. Again, coming back to things like the browsing history thing that's going to be going through in the US at the moment, where they can sell off your browsing history. If you in HTTPS, they can see where you went, but they can't see the content of the pages that you're doing, the searches and things like that. If the pages that you're working with are not secure, then it's open for anyone to see, and they sniff those packets and they can see what's going on. So again, that's something to always look for. Make sure that we're dealing with the right type of security there. Likewise, if and when we're storing data and we're building solutions ourselves, how many people are making sure that the data transfer mechanisms between the applications and the data tier are secure, that type of thing. One thing we need to think about as well is understanding the T's and C's under which we actually give people our data. So we're actually handing over data. There are normally terms and conditions saying what people will do with it, how it will be processed, whether or not they'll sell it, what type of processing may happen. And over here in Europe, we're actually quite blessed that we've got the Data Protection Act here in the UK and the GDPR that's coming in, so hopefully in the next sort of year or so. How long that will be once we've potentially left Europe, we'll never know. But understanding what your data has been collected for and how it's being processed is going to be also very important. What safeguards are they also putting in place? So if you're going to be providing sensitive personal information, how is that going to be stored? Is it going to be stored encrypted, that type of thing? Are you going to be providing credit card data? Again, is it going to be stored? Is it reversible encryption? Understanding, again, how the data is being stored effectively is very, very important. Just look at things like the TalkTalk breach, where they had a huge number of their customers breached. The credentials went out, and they're even finding call centers now that have been specifically set up to basically capture this data. People have got this data, and they're making outbound calls from this call center claiming to be from TalkTalk. That's not a great situation. So again, you just think about, where's my data? How's it stored? Is it protected appropriately? What's the privacy policy? What's the data processing policy? Do you know who the data controller is at these organizations? Can you get hold of that information? Turning that around, and we think about when we're starting to build systems effectively, who's the data controller on our side? Who's the one that's going to carry the can if there's an issue? Okay. So just thinking about that. So okay, so we just need to think about, okay, how are we storing this? Now we think about when we're designing applications, we're looking to design for scalability, performance, and security. Security should be designed in by default. Okay, security by design is an absolutely key thing that we need to understand. Okay, so it's not something that we just tack on afterwards. We'll stick the web application behind a web application firewall, that type of thing. Yeah, it can work, but it's not going to give you the most secure environment that you're going to be working through. Likewise, when we're sort of designing a system that's spanning multiple countries, are we going to be sort of using data centers in country? Are we going to be using sharding, that type of thing? Again, understand how are we going to be storing that data? Where is it going to be stored? Do we need to encrypt it? Is it going to be end-to-end? Is it going to be in transit? Is it going to be at rest? All of this thing is going to be very, very important. Thinking about SQL Server and the Microsoft data platform, we've got a multitude of options there. Okay, thinking about, okay, we've got always encrypted that came with 2016, dynamic data masking, which is, it's a reasonable V1. There's a few gaping holes in it. Then there's also row-level security, transparent data encryption, all of these options that we have available to us with the SQL Server engine and the different variants of it that we have based cloud-based and on-premises. So again, we just need to think about what we're doing. Security by design, it should be at the forefront of our thoughts and our mindset. That's what we're looking to understand. So there's a many different ways of doing this, and there's a good little analogy that I heard. Basically, you treat security kind of like Swiss cheese. Every security solution has some holes in it somehow. Okay, And what you need to do is basically take those slices of Swiss cheese, place one down. You take the next one, rotate it through 90 degrees and place that one down. And that's sort of your second layer of security. Now, can I still see through the cheese to the table or the plate or whatever it's on? Yes. Okay, I need another layer. Take another one, rotate it through 180 degrees. Put that one down. Can I still see anything? No. Okay, I need 3 layers of security to secure the system effectively. And that's when you think about building them up over time. So we've still got the firewalls on our edge networks, that type of thing. We've got access control lists that prevent the ingress of unwanted traffic, if you will. But then you've got to think about, okay, well, we've got the main big firewall that stops people getting into the business. But if someone is inside, like I mentioned earlier, we've got that different layers of threats, and we think about defense in depth. Windows firewall on our servers, that thing, been much maligned in the past, but can be quite useful as another layer of defense. Then you come down to essentially setting your right security policies, who can see what, and it's the issuing of permissions, but also the revocation of permissions as well. That's just as important. So, as we're drawing to a close, have a quick bit of summary and then we're on to Q&A. But again, just in summary, when it comes to this, we need to think about, we adopt the mindset, when not if. Where are we? What are we doing? That type of thing, okay? Is it appropriate for me to actually be doing the work here? And what data am I actually going to be working with? Okay? Making sure that we're not doing something, so like I say, I saw that guy working on something that was top secret in public, on a plane, sort of oblivious to the fact that people beside him and behind him can see things. Just take a step back. These are habits that we've built up over the years, and habits are always difficult to change. But if we take it little by little, then we can change these habits, and we can all sort of look at protecting the data that we work with, both our personal data and the data of our customers and our work a little bit more. Small investments, like I say, can make a big difference. You've got privacy screens, webcam covers, things like that. So depending on the type of environment you're in, whether or not you're going to be able to sort of show what's on the website, webcam, what's behind you, what's around you, what's on posters, what's on whiteboards, that sort of thing. People can see that information. Encryption for storage as well. So BitLocker is great for your Windows systems. You can encrypt your disks. You can encrypt all your USB keys as well. All that sort of thing. Just make sure it's encrypted. That way, if you lose it, and let's face it, who hasn't lost a USB key in one form or another? You can be pretty certain that, yeah, it's going to be secure. People are going to find it very difficult to find that information. And then we just need to think, like I say, security by design. It should be at the forefront of our minds when we're doing everything. When we're designing solutions, be they for our technical stuff, so we're building applications and data platforms, we're building reports. Who can see these reports? Who can share these reports? Are they going to be printed? Are they going to be whatever? Do they need to be predictably marked documents? So if we're building Power BI dashboards, we're building reporting services reports, things like that, do we actually need to have explicit labels in there to say, okay, well, what is the sort of sensitivity of this data, either within this visualization or the dashboard as a whole or the report as a whole? Okay, little things like that. So is it company restricted? Is it unclassified? Can it be sort of freely distributed? That type of thing. Is it in the public domain? Is it private information that we need to hold? So again, the security by design spans many, many different levels. But we just adopt that mindset and we get there eventually. It's one of those things that we can start thinking about things securely, but the more we think about it, then the more we realize that we need to understand more, that the people are constantly sort of trying to work around what we're designing in, that type of thing.